Thank you for the presentation, and I think this discussion is very useful. I just want to ask around the architecture for the engagement with the political parties, because it seems like there's a lot of good work being done at, I suppose, at admin level and at civil servant level, but just in terms of how you manage that, in terms of, obviously, with everything being underpinned by the Good Friday Agreement principles in terms of parity of esteem and all that, how that engagement is done. That's probably my main question. Some of the research questions I have already been answered. So just maybe that one first. Thanks.
Okay, Angel. Yeah. Okay, Angel, if you wish to answer.
Oh, sorry, I thought there were other
no, but I just thought you wanted an answer.
Sorry, Chair, actually, if you want to let my colleagues in after that.
Yeah, no, that's
maybe,
fine. That's perfect.
I'll just finish the other short question I have, and that was that you accept that engagement and cooperation is a concern. So specifically, what are you proposing in terms of moving on and changing this? And that's me finished. I'll hand you over to my colleagues. Thanks.
Okay, Michelle.
Thanks, Fergus. Good to see you again, Angel and Owen. Just very quickly, I suppose, I know you have been doing a lot of engagements and a lot of meetings, but is there an organisation chart of key officials that we could talk to, in terms of different things, or in terms of your the team working with you? Are there many staff there, and are they all based in Dublin, or are there any based elsewhere? And I'm sure if you needed a permanent home, there's plenty of scope for space in the north. Can I also ask, Angel, just as a farmer's daughter, that with the environment and the talk about climate change and all of that, and Brexit, our farming communities are feeling very vulnerable. And as custodians of the island, I'd be very keen to ensure that I don't think they were represented, and they may have been, I hope they were, in the Dialogues event in February. But it'd be very important to tie in with farming groups across the island as well. And a specific question then, if I may, on the 500 million and the allocation of that. Obviously, I welcome any work that's been done so far in the Ulster Canal and the Sligo to Enniskillen Greenway. That's all very important for my constituency. But I'd also like to ask if there have been any conversations with the Infrastructure Minister in the North around the Enniskillen bypass, and whether or not any of that money is likely to be allocated from the Shared Ireland Future to ensure that that work goes ahead. So, Gurmila Meagov.
Thank you, Michelle. Orla Begley.
Thank you very much, and thank you both for those presentations. I wanted to just come in, I suppose, as a representative of the North West region and commend the work that has been done to date between both council areas. It's been fantastic, and it really is a good example of North-South cooperation. I suppose just following on for that, obviously, to unlock the economic potential of the North West region in its entirety, it's dependent on the delivery of the A5 Western Transport Corridor. Unfortunately, we had a setback recently in relation to the A5, but hopefully following the next public inquiry, we will see the delivery of that project, which is crucial in terms of regeneration of the North West and the entire region. I just wanted to touch on the fact that I know £500 million has been allocated to the Shared Island unit, but obviously the Irish government had originally agreed to co-fund the A5. They now have only committed 75 million towards the A5, and I'm just wondering whether there's any potential that the Irish government will uplift their contribution in relation to the A5, and if there is any additional funding which will be made available towards the Shared Island unit and those cross-border projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back to Angel there now.
Okay, great. Thanks a million. And maybe I'll take a few of those, and I might ask Owen then as well to come in, because I think this is our last round, isn't it? So maybe just starting actually at the end, if I may, therefore, with the A5. So yes, I mean, the current Irish government we've currently committed and have budgeted actually the 75 million, though it hasn't yet been spent, obviously. So I think, as you say, it's now going through a further process in the North following the interim report from the Planning Appeals Commission, and there will be a further round of consultation and then I think a final report. I mean, I can't make any commitments today, but what I can say is that the A5 has always been regarded as a strategic project for the North West. And so that if we get to a situation where it actually is going to happen and, you know, where there will be shovels in the ground, etc., I think the Irish government, speaking from today, of course, you know, I can't say where we'll be in a couple of years' time, but I think the Irish government will be up for a conversation about how much more or in what way can it further support that. But I don't think there will be that, I don't think that will happen, that conversation will happen until we get through these various planning cycles in the north, because this project has been around as a joint project since St Andrews. And so, you know, I think that at this point we would want to make sure that it was moving into delivery phase. And at that point you could have more conversations. So I think, you know, and as I say, all without prejudice, because, but there certainly would be an openness, I think, to have that conversation. In terms of the farming community, absolutely. And actually, I mean, there are a couple of things there. And I mean, our colleagues in the Department of Agriculture who've been talking to make the point that actually, again, even economically in the border regions, farming is, you know, agri is an absolutely critical part of the economy of the border regions. So that's part of what we want to do. Interesting ideas around women in agriculture as well that we would like to see develop. So certainly, yes. In terms of the unit, I mean, we're quite small, you know. In addition to myself and Owen, we have 3 other members of staff, with I think 1 more coming on board. So we are quite small. Now, that being said, you know, we work very closely with others. So, you know, we work very closely with colleagues in foreign affairs and other departments. But it is a small unit, but we have been able to, I think, maintain a focus and deliver. I think that, again, no, currently, insofar as people are working in, they're not working in an office, but, you know, we're Dublin based. But I think we are thinking about, again, how we do more regional outreach on the ground once we can travel, and how we do more, going back to some of the points that others raised, other deputies raised, how we do more outreach, again, particularly with that younger generation. So, I mean, these are all things we're kind of looking towards and planning for the future. What else was there? On the Enniskillen bypass, I'd have to come back to you. I don't know if there have been discussions. There may have been discussions between Minister Mallon and Minister Eamon Ryan. I can check that out and come back to you. And again, maybe then just going back to Deputy Conway-Walsh, I think engagement with political parties and how we do that is also another piece that we need to develop more. So, I mean, these engagements for us with yourselves and the committee have been really important. We have had engagement with political parties in the north, and we've been open to engagement with all of them. And not all of them have met with us, but we have been very open to engagement with all of them. But I think there's a piece there that needs to be further developed. And I think some of the thinking, and I know there are some initiatives in this area, but maybe looking at younger or newer members of the Assembly and the Oireachtas. There's also been some outreach between the Women's Caucus in the Oireachtas and the Assembly, I understand, and we've had some engagement with the chair of the Women's Caucus in the Oireachtas around that. But I think it is a piece that we think, you know, as time goes on, we want to develop more. Owen, maybe do you want to come in?
Thanks. Just one point really to add, I think, just on Orla's question on the Enniskillen bypass. So I don't have specific information on that project, but just to say that focusing on strategic investment, public investment priorities in the north, in Northern Ireland, from the Strategic Investment Board process at Stormont, and in the south for the National Development Plan review is an important part, obviously, of getting strategic investment joined up between both sides. So that's something that we're working on our side on the National Development Plan. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Can I just, have I got a second, Chair? It's only just on the engagement with political parties. Sorry to come back to it, but so have you an architecture there that ensures that you are engaging with all communities and all, well, that you're at least seeking engagement, actively seeking engagement with all political parties on the same basis? Now you have the same problem.
Sorry, I was on mute there. So, I mean, I think in terms of in this jurisdiction, we do see this engagement with the Oireachtas committee as being key at this stage. And then in terms of engagement in Northern Ireland, our approach would be to periodically look to engagement with all the political parties in Northern Ireland. We managed one live visit before in the sort of windows between the various COVID lockdowns. That was our approach then, and it continues to be our approach. And I should add, by the way, that the Taoiseach has spoken to all the leaders of the political parties in the last, since Easter. More broadly on Northern Ireland, but he's spoken to all the leaders. So, there continues to be that kind of systematic engagement. But we are, I think, and we don't have developed ideas yet, so I don't want to make it sound like we're about to announce initiatives, and you might feel we should be, but we are, as we look to a phase of in-person meeting, looking at how we might structure this in a more developed way, and particularly building some themes around it, as I mentioned.
I just think it's really important, and I'll just give you a case in point, I suppose, around the student mobility, because obviously I think it's absolutely imperative that we look on education delivery and research on an all-island basis. And so myself and John O'Dowd have been engaged in we have launched an initiative to examine some of the barriers that have led to the reduction of student mobility since the Good Friday Agreement. So what are the causes of that? So I suppose there's no point in us all reinventing the wheel. If there are pieces of work that are being done, I think it's really important that political parties know about it, and that we all, that there's additionality rather than us inventing the wheel, because we have an ever-changing political system and an ever-changing political environment that I think we all need to be ahead of the curve in. So thank you.